You first. Okay. All right. Hi, how are you? Yeah. Yeah, for the audience? Yeah, we can share. Sorry. Awesome. So, Ghungroo, right? Awesome. Can you tell everybody your name?
My name is Shreya, and hi, my name is Shreya, and I'm the writer-director of Ghungroo.
Awesome. So, I think people can hear. So, what was the inspiration behind the movie? What inspired you?
So I started writing back in 2020, and I think the inspiration was my mother started doing Kathak at a very later period of her life. So I think a little bit of inspiration was there when she started doing it in her 40s, late 40s. So a little bit was there, and then I came here and did my master's, and for my thesis project
You flew back to make the movie?
Yes.
That's awesome. It was done in Maharashtra?
Yeah, it was a little away, 2 hours away from Mumbai, near Kalyan. There were like a bunch of villages.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Anybody has any question for? Yes. All the way back.
First of all, I want to appreciate yourself the way you're showing the art. Another thing that I really want to ask you, were you, like the character that you created on the child, were you trying to keep away, because I have seen a lot of people when they make films about Ghungroo and a man dancing, they try to talk about the queer community. What I like about the fact that you did not show that and you just wanted to show a normal person not being queer can also have that sex. So was it intentional or it just came out?
I think it just came out. So while I was writing, I remember first it was a female character that I was imagining, and then all of a sudden one of the scenes I was like, no, the male. And
More so it's all about art, right? Yeah. That's the thing, like the beauty of art, it has no sex, no gender, no bias. So I think it was beautifully done.
Thank you.
So, amazing movie. Thank you so much. Big round of applause. It was a roller coaster. So, we had a brief chat right before the movie started. Like, you started it right before the pandemic.
Yeah, I've been doing commercials, TV production since probably before she was born. And then I almost quit. I was done banging my head against a glass ceiling for 10 years trying to make my first film, waiting for somebody to say yes, and then we decided we're either going to do it or not do it. And we said, sorry, I was going to swear, there's a lot of F-bombs in my movie, they came from me, sorry. We were going to do it or not do it, and we decided we're going to do it, and we wrote a script. A couple of the actors are really good friends of mine, including Anand Rajaram to my left, who played Rav in the movie.
Amazing. He was like...
and with the help of a couple of my family that's in this room tonight, we did a crowdfund and raised some money, used that to shoot some more scenes, to raise the rest of the money, and that is a very micro 250,000 to do that budget. Yeah.
And it's no turning back from here, I think.
No, and in the middle of shooting, somebody dropped the pandemic on my head, and we lost all our post money, all our freebies that we acquired. We lost all of those, so you can see my name's on almost every aspect of the movie, and it's not because I wanted to, it's just I had to. So I had to do
amazing
the
job,
right
amazing
everything.
job.
So thank you.
Audience, any questions? Well, one thing I wanted to add was it was literally a roller coaster of emotion, the Bollywood, the Hollywood, and the action also part of it, which is gets scary. And he's played such a good OCD character. That's amazing. You can't help but laugh about everything and then still be worried. And that moment where you take the courage against your brother-in-law, you're listening to him? Yes, no, no.
Yeah, he really choked me. Yeah, I did. I told him to go for it, and he really did. Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. One of the challenges of even shooting with that pandemic dropping in the middle was, what is it, 4 years we took? Like, I mean, it was 4 years before I met them. They had another actor playing this part, and then life happens, and he left the project, so then I came on board. But then it was 4 years after that. So the whole film is shot. Films are usually shot out of sequence anyway. But this would be like, we'd go 6 months, and then Bobby would call and be like, we need another shot. And then we'd go and shoot again. So it's like kind of remarkable that it even got done. And so well.
Very well done, very well done. And was there a reason why it was themed for 1998?
I didn't want to make arch criminals that were masterminds or anything. I just wanted everyday people that could possibly break into my house. And it's a lot easier to do in 98 than it is in 2024.
Thinking, very good thinking. Yeah. Yes.
One thing that really impressed me about Stolen Vows is how professionally character-driven all these actors are. So what was the acting process like throughout the movie, and the casting process for the movie as well?
Very easy. So the first one to come aboard was Fuad Ahmed, who plays Johnny Khan. I just met him at a party, and we have a really strong South Asian community like you do here in Chicago and Toronto. It's actually very, very even tighter and stronger. And there's a really strong, deep pool of actors there, as you can tell. But there's no opportunities. There really is. There's Deepa Mehta, and there's some other crappy guy who I won't mention, and that's it. There's nobody else up there, and that's it. You know, the way the Canadian system works is they fund one, and they're like, look, we've done brown films, and it's, one Deepa Mehta film every 3 years. So you either have to make your own way in or not. And then I met Fuad at a party and said, hey, I'm going to write a movie, and you're going to be in it. Anyway, yeah, buddy, sure, yeah. And then we actually did. Then I met Ali Hassan at another party. We hit it off. We wrote the script together in 2 months at Starbucks. I drank a lot of coffee in 2 months. And then Fuad brought Gia aboard, who is absolutely fantastic. Gia Sandhu is world class. And then she brought Anand aboard when we lost our other actor. And the other actor had to fall out because of the same thing that I almost quit for. Life circumstance. You're married, you're planning to have a family, you're gonna have kids, you need real money. You can't keep doing this forever. So it was a blessing in disguise because Anand is, I call him Canadian Joaquin Phoenix. He is nuts good. He is so good. What you saw here is just a taste of how good he actually is. And when he came aboard, he goes, I was like, dude, I didn't think you wanted to do my tiny little movie. And he said, I was disappointed you didn't ask me. So that hit really well in two ways. One, don't doubt yourself. And B, trust yourself. Right?
And that was your happily ever after.
Yeah, dude. And I jumped on him, and it was a party ever since. So.
There's a couple things I'd like to say too about, because Fuad, the other members of the cast were occupied with other projects, so they couldn't be here. They wanted to be. But Fuad, you can catch him in Christmas Casanova. That's a Hallmark film, and he's done a bunch of other stuff since this. Ali Hassan has a great book. He's a phenomenal stand-up comedian, really funny. He's got a book called Is There Bacon in Heaven? And it's about him being Muslim, dealing with that dichotomy of like loving bacon, but at the same time wanting to respect the vows. He's very funny, and he's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant comedian. And Gia Sandhu has done a bunch of stuff like, was it Mysterious Benedict Society, which was Disney. She was Spock's wife in Star Trek. And she's got so Bobby got all of us at an early point in our careers where everyone kind of started to really lift after that. I think it's it's not a surprise, because you give people, when you get an opportunity to perform, you have people who believe in you, you increase your confidence, and then that automatically makes you more confident when you go into rehearsal or to an audition room.
Great job, great job. Any other questions from the audience? Yes.
I have a question for Shreya. So Shreya, for Ghungroo, right? I really enjoyed when I first saw the film. It's about fulfilling the expectations of society, right? And you pick this small little boy, I think he's 14 or 15 years old. I think Dhairya Tandon, right? Yeah. why was this subject in your head? You know, what you really wanted to to bring out from this film, and how do you see this film resonating with audience all over the world and not just India?
So when I started writing, I didn't have anything in my head per se, but I think when I talk about the movie, it's always why do others have this kind of okay, just because they are your parents and they have seen life a certain way doesn't mean that that's right for you. And that point has always resonated with me for my life. So I think that's why in all the stories that I write, I think that comes out somehow. Doesn't mean that they don't want you to be happy, but it's just like their image of happiness can be different from your image of happiness. And that, I think, came out in this.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So this is for Shreya. Ever thought that this could be a longer movie, an hour and a half? You know, the storyline just comes out so beautifully rather than a 20-minute movie.
Yeah, for sure. When I first wrote it in 2020, it was a longer script. It was a lot of flashbacks. It started with him already being older on the dance floor. That's how the story was written. And then when I brought it to my screenwriting professor, she was like, for this thesis project, you need to do a 15-20 minute movie. And so I don't know why I picked this story and made it shorter, but yeah, definitely it could be longer.
Any more questions?
One more
Yes.
for Bobby.
Yeah.
So Bobby, when you made Stealing Vows, right, and I was programming through a film, being like a director, you all shot the film in Canada, right? You got all the local actors. Do you think if you take the similar subject, and let's say if you go to India, for example, right, or other South Asian country, would you have a very similar storyline would you like to film, or do you have any ideas that you would like to go beyond North America?
I class myself as a Bollywood kid who grew up in a Hollywood home. Oh, sorry, exact opposite. Hollywood kid who grew up in a Bollywood home. So anything to do with brown people in either mainstream or actual deep culture, I'm down with. That's no problem. As you can tell, that's a Western film. That's not a typical Bollywood type film. It's just a Western film that happens to be about brown people. And I think all my writing, all my scripts, the next 5 that are already ready to go, are all the same, right? It just happened to put brown people in different situations that you generally don't see them. This is the first ever, I think, mainstream, all South Asian cast heist film that I've ever seen. So that's not Bollywood. So yeah, I don't think I want to do this one again. I got a bunch of others to do, but somebody did ask me if I want to turn it into a series. The money's right.
Well, I was just gonna say about Ghungroo that I love that film so much, and I forgot something, and it reminded me of something. I remember being in grade 5, and at a school assembly, and there was a bunch of women who were girls, but and they were a dance group, and they came and they did like a performance, and I remembered every single move. And I was so thrilled by watching them dance and I never danced before, but I watched it and then I went home and I remembered it all. But I was too ashamed to it wasn't about being it wasn't for any other reason, but just oh, guys don't dance, you know what I mean? But it was really beautiful to see that represented in his eyes, seeing that, and I was like, oh, I remember that moment of what that felt like. It was really beautiful.
Thank you.
Nothing? All these intelligent people in front of you have no questions?
No questions, but just wanted to say we really enjoyed both films. I think they're so vastly different, but I truly, truly enjoy each one of them. You know, your subject, it's just nice to see having kids. It's, you know, I don't know if I'll let my son dance around the living room anytime soon, but it's just, it's a joy to see that we're touching on these topics that are not talked about as often. You know, it's a starting point for share for a lot of us, but also, you know, seeing Stealing Vows, I know Bobby, but it's just such a fun movie to watch. It's just truly a joy to see it on screen, and just seeing your hard work all just, you know, on screen is just, it's amazing. It's wonderful, and Anand, you're amazing in it.
Thank you. You know what that dance was about for me is about freedom. It was just about freedom. That's all. It wasn't about identity. It wasn't about anything else. It was just about the freedom to move and be whoever you wanted to be and express yourself however you wanted to express yourself. And the thing about even Stealing Vows that's remarkable to me is if you think about the history of diasporic South Asian cinema, not cinema in India, because cinema in India, they're like, they can tell any story because the dominant culture says tell any story. So they can do heist movies, they can do spy movies, they can do thrillers, they can do horror, they can do everything. But we get trapped in a box here. We get trapped in a narrative box that it's always about the same basic kind of like parental thing. There's an arranged marriage, and those are good stories, and they're good, honest stories. But we're not telling like the kind of stories that the dominant culture is telling. We don't have action hero films. We don't have like space films. We don't have films that are pushing those boundaries of horror or like genre bending. And it's because we kind of trap ourselves a little bit. And what I love about Stealing Vows is that it's starting to break that. It's starting to represent the freedom of expressing yourself however you want and not feeling limited to a kind of expression because that's what the dominant culture wants. It's really great because it's inside. And what's really wild about this film too, is that you wouldn't know it because you're in Chicago, but there are so many South Asian actors in this film who've been doing it from time for so long that it becomes a time capsule for a huge generation of South Asians. One of the oldest in there, the two of the oldest, Sujit Varghese, who gropes Chia's butt, and Marvin Ishmael, who, what do you play? Marvin was the older dad. Yeah, the Patel dad. Both of those guys faced so much racism, so much resistance. Both of them were trying so hard to break through. And because of them and people like them, every other generation that you see in that film was able to make a career and build to the point that you get to now. So what you're seeing is a narrative, but a narrative that's so embedded in struggle and in trying to represent ourselves in a way that all of you as an audience can feel represented.
It's awesome. Very well done. And the character who played in the beginning, he was a British guy. He dropped out.
Which one?
He's
Bobier?
I think so, yes.
He's actually not British, he's Toronto too. He just put the accent on, yeah. He's a really good actor. So what you guys don't know is because of the pandemic, two of the wedding scenes we did not shoot. There's about 7 pages of the film that we did not shoot. So I had to find existing videography footage, match the decor, drop our actors into that world, and then try to cut it together. So the opening wedding and the red wedding we didn't shoot those. Those are somebody's actual wedding. And so we just got the video, and then we had our set dresser, who happened to be the one who did those weddings, say, please match the decor. She set it up again, and we just dropped our actors into the same world. So, and it's just clever angles and shots that make it feel like it's together. So, big pain in the ass. I will never do this movie again.
Go ahead.
You mentioned it's one of the first South Asian heist movies, and you said you were really choked out. So how did you navigate some of the stunts, and then were they real guns?
Never real guns, no. It's an ACTRA, so that's our union up there. We got a lot of rules. We were, well, like you mentioned, almost every South Asian quality actor in Canada, once they found out this crew was together, wanted to be in this film.
Not in Toronto.
In Toronto, right. I don't know anybody in Vancouver, so they don't count. They all wanted to be part of the film. There's some bit roles here. There's some people that were like Hughes and what was the guy that was his best man? Freed. Fantastic Canadian actors. They're huge. And they were like, hey, yeah, let me just play the best man. And they just stood there and had one line, and they loved it. And they just all wanted to be part of it. And that meant a lot to us, right? They knew our cause, and like he said, doing something different, trying something different. And because we did it on our own, we had the freedom to do everything. Like every song in the movie is also original. Me and my music partner produced the entire soundtrack. So that'll be out soon. Spotify.
There's also, even other actors like Ron Kennel, phenomenal. If you saw Dr. Cabby, I don't know if that played here, but Ron wrote that script. And then the doctor who, the black doctor who's in the hospital, that's a phenomenal Toronto actor, and he's a director as well. Orion Mengesha. And if any of you know, this is a little tidbit, does anybody know who Haile Selassie is? Selassie I? If you know anything about Rastafari culture, you know how much they respect Haile Selassie, because he was an emperor of Ethiopia. He's a descendant of the emperor of Ethiopia. He's a prince. He's an actual prince. And so much humility. I called him up and I was like, hey, we got this part. Like, it's short notice. Do you want to just pop in? He was like, yeah, anything. Just to come and play. There's like such a generous community spirit in the making of this film. By the way, the choking out is not common. It's not. That's not the way we do things. That's just him. Well, that's him and me.
This guy's nuts. Okay, he is again, I call him Canadian Joaquin Phoenix, but if you ever see, he's got 2 or 3 one-man shows that last over 2 hours. He does everything from the top of his head. They are mind-bending how good they are. If you ever get a chance to see him, we're trying to set him up in Chicago. Maybe you guys can help him. But he's a legend. If he actually cared about stature, money, any of that stuff, he would be right at the very top. But his passion is the art.
What's next for you, Bob?
Yeah.
What's
Next for me, this is making its rounds now. I think me and him are doing a short film this winter. And then before this, I wrote 5 other scripts, so I'm just going to do them in reverse order. I started with the 20 million, then a 10, then a 5, then a 2, then the 1, and then 250. So let's go to the 1, and we'll keep going. And we'll be back next year.
Yeah.
Great. Always welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Shreya. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us. Thank you all so much.